Hi there, and thank you so much for joining me today for the free workshop, Kiss Diets Goodbye. 20 ways that traditional diets get it wrong and a simple system for getting it right. My name is Joan Gregerson. I'm a wellness coach and an eco nut, and I just want to say thank you so much for hanging out with me today to learn about this life-transforming idea. And before we get started, just a little bit of housekeeping. So this is a streaming event, and so if your video freezes or you have some problem like that, then usually just if you refresh your browser window, it should catch back up. And also if you have other windows open, you might want to close those or hook up with your cable instead of going wirelessly if you have any problems. And then the second thing I want to mention is a lot of people will say, hey, stay with me for this webinar, clear out all distractions, focus on me. But you know what? Usually when I do webinars, when I'm listening, I like to get some stuff done, maybe pick up a little around my house or get my dishes done or fold the laundry. So if you're that same way, then feel free, because in this case, I'm just going to be talking with you. So, if you want to carry the phone around with you or the computer or something like that, then feel free. So let's just dive right in here, and just want to let you know kind of the format is I'm going to cruise through these 20 different ideas that I think you should be aware of when you're looking at some program to support you on your weight loss journey. And after that, I'm going to tell you about the program that I offer. So if you don't have time to stay for that, that's totally fine. I want to make sure that I give you all the value right up front. So that's the way it's going to be lined out there. And if you want to check out my program later, if you don't have time to stay for this whole thing, then just go to foodfreedomnaturally.com/member. All right, so let's go ahead and dive in. And so these are the 20 areas that I think that a lot of the traditional programs get wrong. So number one is that they focus on weight loss. And what I would like to say is that weight loss is not the way to get there. Weight loss is the result from some other journey. So we're going to talk about that more. But if it's all about weight loss, if you go in, you're weighing yourself, and that's the focus, then I think that can be very depressing, very demoralizing, because let's face it, you could eat perfectly what you think is the most healthy for you for several days or even a week, and it wouldn't show up as weight loss. And so that kind of inherent conflict is one reason I don't think that a program should be focusing on that as the first and foremost area. So number two is what it should be focusing is on a long-term healthy relationship with food. So in the same way that, maybe when you first started to drive, remember how confusing it was with all the buttons and knobs and gear shift, and it seems so overwhelming. But now probably if you drive, then it's just natural and you don't think about it. That's what I would hope for you, is that you get to a place where you're just naturally eating more nutritious foods, where your weight is what you want it to be, and you're eating the kinds of foods that you want, and there's no internal struggle. And so that's where the focus should be, is on this long-term healthy relationship with your food. Number three is, I don't think a program should tell you what to eat. And that might be a surprise, because when we think about most diets, that's what they do, is they tell you, okay, this is what you should eat, and you're allowed this many points, or you should eat this, you shouldn't eat that. And one reason that that's really important to not do is what I like to call the screw you, I'm going to live my life response whenever you tell somebody what to do. And I'm sure you've had this experience yourself. You ask your parent or your friend or your spouse, you're telling them about some situation. They tell you what to do, and you're like, hey, screw you. You don't know about me, what's best for me. I'm going to live my life. And when I was working as a coach on the tobacco quit line, that's actually, there was a statistically measured response that way. And so we were not allowed, when we did the coaching, to tell people what to do. And it was because of that, because it decreases their chance for success. Okay, number 4 is the focus on how. So this is critical, that I think a program should spend a lot of time helping you learn how to eat well. And so for the most part, that means how to eat mindfully. I think about when I was at my engineering job, and I used to love those Girl Scout cookies, the chocolate mint Girl Scout cookies. And I would get a few boxes of them, and instead of taking them all home, I would open one box when I was sitting there at my desk, and I'd take out a whole sleeve of the cookies, and then I'd look up from my computer and that dang sleeve would be empty. I would have eaten the whole 20 or so cookies and never even experienced it. So that's the part about mindful eating and learning how to eat, is if I would have, taken those cookies, gone outside, maybe put down a little plate, maybe put down 1 or 2 cookies, you can light a candle, you can do some deep breathing, put on music that you like. I guess it's like going on a date with a cookie. But just really experiencing that thing that you theoretically love. And a lot of times when I start doing that, then I'll take the time and read the ingredients on the box and go, oh my gosh, what the heck is all in this anyhow? And a lot of times I decide I don't want any or just very little. So focusing on how, I think, is really crucial. And the next thing is, I think a program should help you focus on the why of your whole life. So this is interesting, if somebody comes home and binge eats, why are they doing that? What is the main thing that's causing them to binge eat? Is it the calories of the actual thing in the fridge, or is it the whole conditions of their life? And usually it's more what's going on in their life. And it could be something big. It's often something big, like maybe working in a job where people don't treat you well, or you're not doing something that you're passionate about. And so you have this angst and this inner conflict. And so you get kind of stuck, and then you just go and eat something because that makes you feel better. So why, focusing on the why, is really important. Number 6 is nature. For tens of thousands of years, until just this last 50 or 100 years, humans lived as part of nature. We were out in nature. We understood that our survival depended on nature, that nature took care of us, and we in turn we respected nature. And so I think that a program needs to help you reconnect with that. It might be that spending time in nature every week is the most healing thing that you can do, and when you do that, you start feeling better. You start feeling more at peace, and you start seeing life in its proper time perspective, and maybe you end up getting the courage to then make some of those changes that you need to make in your life. So understanding nature as healer and as this amazing source of wisdom is I think crucial for a successful journey. Okay, the next is number 7, and that is industrialized food. There was times in human history when we can look back and see another culture and we think, why were they so kind of dim? Why did they not see what was going on? For example, in the times of slavery, why did a culture condone slavery? Why did they think that it was okay when it's definitely not okay? And or why did when they found out that the world was round, why did some people protest and want to stay with no, the world is flat? So we can see the ridiculousness of that in other eras, and this is what's happening right now, is what's been going on with our industrialized food and with all the deceptive advertising and the engineering that has happened to make our food irresistible and addictive, and then the advertising has been micro-managed and tested. So because of that, if we don't understand what's going on there, we can never be free. And what I think is disappointing is some of these big programs, instead of pushing people towards more of the natural food, they sometimes just become part of that industrialized food system. So they have their 100-calorie snacks, and if you read the ingredients, there's like 37 ingredients on a little 100-calorie snack. What all is in there? Those aren't things that our body is necessarily adapted to handling. And as Einstein said, you can't use the thinking that got you into the problem to get you out of the problem. So we can't just have low fat or low carb or low calorie industrialized foods as a way to overcome our problem with industrialized food. No, we need to figure out how to reconnect with nature and use those foods that are already there for us in nature and figure out how to use them the way nature intended. Number 8 is the traditions. So when I was living in South Korea, I saw that there were so many traditions around food, that there's certain foods you eat at certain times of the year, and on the days that are traditionally hottest, then everybody would have a certain kind of soup. And there's all this wisdom that these cultures have been passing down of how to thrive in that environment with these foods in this climate for thousands and thousands of years. And I think that's something, especially in the US, that we've lost a lot of that. Instead, we're just kind of, we'll just eat whatever. And that really hasn't worked out. And so realizing that there are these traditions and there is this wisdom there that we can reconnect with and learn from, that's a key part of our perspective that we need to have in order to be successful. Okay, the next is the focus on whole foods. Okay, so that's number 9, is the focus on whole foods. I worked as a lunch lady in the cafeteria at a middle school, and this was just in 2016. And according to the Food Nutrition Services, a kid in the morning could have either an apple or a box of apple juice, and it was considered to be the same. Those are not the same. Those are not the same. An apple is definitely not the same as a box of apple juice on so many different levels. I mean, just look at the packaging alone. And the apple is this amazing biodegradable package, and the juice box has a plastic straw wrapped in plastic that you push through a box that's made of foil and plastic, and the juice has been, carted all over and stored on shelves. And so this idea that whole foods, that with the minimal number of interventions between when nature says, I'm done, this food is for you, that we can respect that and know that there's a difference between an apple and a juice box that has a picture of an apple on it. So this getting to appreciate whole foods as nature intended is, I think, critical. Okay, that was number 9. Number 10 is the political outlook around our dietary guidelines. I can't speak for all different countries. All I know is for the US, did you know that in in 2015 was the last time our dietary guidelines were updated, and there's a huge process that goes into this where you've got all kinds of different advisors that give their input, and people were pretty excited because the recommendations for the new dietary guidelines aligned much more with health promoting foods. But when it went through the last phase, it unfortunately swayed back to promoting more of the industries and less of the health of people eating the food. And if you think about this, I guess it's inevitable. It's the U.S. Department of Agriculture, so they are promoting agricultural products. So they're promoting corn and wheat and dairy, and what would be better? It would be better if the Center for Disease Control put together the dietary guidelines, but that's not the case. So just knowing that our government and the big food companies are even altering the dietary guidelines. So it really means that it's incumbent on ourselves to do more of that research and figure out what is best for us. Okay, so now we're on to number 11, and that is practical skills. This is another kind of big shock, is that the basic skills of what to do with food has been lost to a huge degree. When I'm talking with professionals, I was speaking with a professional woman the other day who was like 30 years old, and she said, I really don't know what to buy and what to make. And some of the teachers and the parents that would come into the school, they would, instead of getting the more nutritious, the salads, they also would be going for the spicy chicken sandwich and French fries. And so there's been a couple generations now that have been raised on this industrialized food who really have no skills or very few skills as far as what to actually make. So people say, hey, you should eat more fruits and vegetables, and they really don't know what to do. And on the other hand, there's a lot of us that know what to do, but we just don't get around to doing it. So I think having some way that you can really reinforce learning those practical skills and practicing them, so that's not all just in your head, but you're actually doing them, that is critical. Okay, number 12 is bioindividuality. I never understood how there could be so many different diet books coming out every year and every month, maybe every day, and they're each saying something different, and they're saying people are getting such great results with this and you should really do this. And when I went through this Institute for Integrative Nutrition to be a holistic health coach, they exposed us to 100 dietary theories, and the main way that they taught was they said, bioindividuality means that these things may work for somebody, but you don't know who it's going to work for. And that person needs to really test it on themselves. And so I think that's a key thing, is that to help you develop that feeling that, I am the only one, I am the expert on my own body, and I'm the only one that really knows if these foods that you're telling me to eat are good for me or bad for me. Because I have this amazing, this whole feedback system right here that is reporting and telling me things if I know how to listen to it. So that bioindividuality, that trust in yourself, that you are the one that's getting the most information about your body and learning how to listen to it. So then even if you do go to an expert and they say do this or do that, or that you'll know to be able to test that and see if that's going to work for you or not. And you'll also be able to communicate more, because you'll already know what these minor signs are. I think as a kid, actually for my first 4 or so decades, it didn't really occur to me to be in tune with what my body was reporting. I mean, obviously I wasn't, because when I went through my own weight issues, I ended up 30 pounds overweight twice, and both times it feels like it just suddenly happened to me. Well, if I was paying attention, probably wouldn't suddenly happen. So that bio-individuality, knowing that what works for you, my food might be your poison and vice versa. And the idea that you need to listen to your body and figure out what's going on so that you can make those adjustments and keep small problems small. Okay, number 13 is addiction recovery. So this is, again, one of these things that is only a problem really that occurred in a big way in the last 50 to 100 years. And that is that because the foods have been engineered and advertised to be addictive and for people to eat them compulsively, we now have to have skills around addiction recovery and self-mastery when dealing with our food. And so this might mean bringing in some of the systems, like something you might learn in a 12-step program about forgiveness and not holding grudges and making amends, and really getting to the root of some of those deeper issues that are triggering, that are making it difficult for you to have self-mastery around these foods that have been designed to be so tempting. Okay, number 14 is introspection and self-expression. What this is about is that in this process, when you're going through some kind of weight loss journey, going through a transformation, that you're going to have things coming up that are puzzles to you, or that are kind of shocking or sad or exhilarating, but you need a way to get past your thinking and to diffuse the emotions and come to a place of peace. And so if you can use poetry and art and journaling, things like that will help you get through and get on to the other side. Number 15 is community. And I can't say enough about community. There's the National Geographic explorer who wrote the Blue Zones book was talking about how every single one of those blue zones, so these are these areas where people lived a long, healthy life, that in every case they had a healthy community as part of their life. And so being part of a healthy community, being surrounded by having strong, loving relationships, being a responsible member of your community, all of these things could be as valuable as what you're actually putting into your mouth in helping you get to a healthy relationship with food. Number 16 is one-to-one discussions. So whether you hire a coach like myself, or you call a friend, or you have a walking buddy or a sister or somebody that you can talk to, I think that should be part of your program design, is that you have someone that you can talk to personally to get through this stuff. Because it's, as I was saying before, these things come up and you need ways to diffuse them and work through them, and have somebody that can listen to you without giving advice, reflect back to what you're saying, and ask you questions like, oh, so what do you want to do next? And how do you think you'll do that? And, how's that working? Without the advice giving. So somebody that you can trust to be that coach or counselor in your life will be helpful. Number 17 is reductionism. And this word, it basically means that the tendency for our Western culture is to take everything apart and study it separately and say that we know that thing. So for example, it could be something like studying the chemicals in the leaves of a tree and thinking that we know the forest. And so this reductionism, it comes up again and again, where people, these different reports that you see coming through where they say, something about vitamin A or vitamin C or a certain supplement has some amazing properties, or just all kinds of details where they extract one little piece of it and say it has a certain impact. And the truth of it, I love, there was a guy that I used to work with, and he was a genius. He graduated from MIT at age 16. And he said, Joan, it's almost impossible for people to study the effect of food on the human body. And I was like, that's ridiculous. They do it all the time. And he said, no, there are so many different variables that, just a simple act of like eating an apple and what that is all doing to the human body. From somebody to try and break down all the different components and how it does in all the different bodies is really complex. And so this goes back to that bio-individuality, is that you can study these things on yourself. The effect of an apple on you can study a lot easier than scientists can study the impact of individual supplements on a population. So just be aware that there can be good research that comes from some of those, but if it's too isolated, it may or may not apply to you. So that's reductionism. The next principle is everything and everyone. And, most Western cultures push the idea of individuals getting ahead, but all indigenous cultures promote the concept that we are all connected. And that is the real truth of it, is that we are all organisms, we are all cells in one big organism, which is our whole life on this planet, including the planet. And so having a program that helps remind you that that is your true orientation is something that can bring you to a place of peace, not only with your food, but just with your life in general. Number 19 is deadlines. We all know that it's hard to get something done unless you have some reason that you have to get it done. And so I think having some group thing, some challenge thing that you do together. Number 19 is deadlines. And we all know that without a deadline, it's often hard to actually get around to getting something done. So I think a program should have some challenges or some specific dates by which you need to do something, because it's a great motivator and it's a good way to get off the dime from, oh, I should do this, to, oh gosh, I need to do this tomorrow or the next day. Okay. Number 19 is deadlines. And this is just a simple message that, just reminding you that we're humans. We often want to do stuff, but we don't get around to it. So if there's a way to make it a challenge and give us a certain deadline, a friendly competition, then that's a great way to use the human behavior to help change rather than seeing it as an obstacle that would prevent change. Okay, and the last thing I would say is fun. And in the programs that I was in, it really wasn't very fun. And so I think that's another part of it, that it's hard to stay a part of something if you're not just enjoying it. All right, so those are my 20 ways that I think a lot of the traditional programs fail, and they fail the dieters. So remember, it's not that the dieters are failing, it's that the programs are failing the dieters. So if you still have a little bit more time, then I hope you will hang out and let me tell you about the program that I put together that, as you can guess, has all those components that I just said, that is from that holistic approach. And so my program you can check out. It's at foodfreedomnaturally.com/member. And again, that's foodfreedomnaturally.com/member. And my name is Joan Gregerson, and I'm a wellness coach and an eco nut. And my program is called Food Freedom Naturally, the membership. And so what it is basically there's 5 components to it. And the first one is there is a member portal, and you hop in the member portal, and as soon as you get signed up, you'll get access to the 12 modules that are already there. So again, I'm not going to tell you which ones you should do first, but you can go in whatever order you want. You're going to find out, get practices about those big ideas, practices, writing a poem, doodling, journaling, and also learning about specific foods that you might want to make. So those are the modules. There is that, the second component is the membership discussion forum area where you can share to whatever extent you want. The third component is a private Facebook group, so that way you can jump in there any time of day, ask your questions, give and get encouragement. And then we have 2 challenges that we do every month. So the cool thing is, no matter when you're watching this, there's going to be a challenge starting any day. So if you jump in now, you'll be able to do the next challenge with us. We do one, which is a 1-day guided juice cleanse on the 1st of every month. So that's the fast on the 1st. And the second one we do mid-month over a weekend, and that is called the Make It Challenge. And there we get together virtually on this app, and we all make the same kind of food. So it could be green smoothies or salad in a jar or veggie bean soup or roasted veggies. And as each person makes them, then you get points for if you make your shopping list, or you go shopping, or you prepare something and you post photos, and whoever gets the highest points each challenge wins a prize. So that is my program, those 5 components. The next thing I want to tell you about is the price. And I offer one-to-one coaching, and I would love to talk with you if you're interested in that. And my price for that is $1,000 per month, and it's very valuable, but I also know that prevents a lot of people from participating. So I set the price of the membership to a level that anybody, and I mean anyone, can afford, and it's $49 a month. So that's less than a cup of coffee per day. And there's a 7-day free trial. So you can hop in, get into any of those modules that you want. And if we have a challenge going, you can hop into that. And if you don't like it, then you just send an email to support@positiveenergyworks.com, and that's the end of it. Otherwise, you can stay 1 month, 2 months, as long as you like. Or if you're really serious about this and you're thinking, you know what, I would love to take a full year and really knock this out and get food back to just being food and get over this obsession once and for all, where I'm not thinking about food all the time and I'm just back to that place where I'm eating nutritious food kind of automatically, and I'm on to living my life to the fullest. And if you're thinking, it's probably going to take me a year to work through this, then if that's the case for you, then I have another offer, which is that you could actually get 4 months free, save almost $200, and sign up for a year now for $389. You still get the 7-day free trial. So again, you could hop in, and if you decide you don't like it, then just let me know, and that would be the end of it. So there is one more thing that I offer, which is a 30-day money-back, no questions asked guarantee. So if you want to hop in there, and you've got up to 30 days where you can get your money back. So at this point, you might be thinking, okay, well, what is my risk? And you have no risk. Really, the only risk is if you don't get your food and your eating figured out. And if you project yourself not only just a year from now, but maybe 10, 20, 30 years, there's going to be 2 really different paths that your life can take. And I hope that you will find a way to get onto that path where you are at that place of food freedom naturally. So again, my name is Joan Gregerson. The name of the program is Food Freedom Naturally. You can check it out at foodfreedomnaturally.com/member. And if you sign up now, you'll be able to hop into our next challenge. And I look forward to seeing you there. Thanks so much, and see you on the inside.